day, another wearable test. Today we're testing out the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold7, the Ultra Fold, according to Samsung. And as per the usual, we will explore new places all while we check out this phone. But first things first. Coffee. Check. And in case you're wondering what that machine was, it's called a pour steady. We use it when the baristas are super busy so they can do pour overs without slowing the line to a crawl. Otherwise, they do it by hand themselves. I'm just exhausted and I was feeling lazy, so. By the way, if you don't know where we are right now, welcome to Coffee Check. Now, this is a coffee shop that I opened about 11 months ago now, but the roastery is now up and running, and after a lot of testing, I finally have my first self-roasted coffee. This is matte black, and I figured I'd put it in this video before I officially launch it on social media and stuff, but I personally roast it here in the back of the cafe, I bag it myself, and I ship them out if someone were to buy one. It took a lot of experimenting and testing to get it to something that I'm happy with, as you would imagine, because I'm pedantic. But eventually, I got it to a point where I love it, and the baristas like it. But there's actually been a lot of great feedback from a variety of people. Honestly, I'm kind of floored that anyone likes it even. So it's been a cool moment that I actually don't think has really settled in just yet. But more about the coffee quickly. It's the Castillo variety that comes from the Manos Juntos micromill in the Cauca region of Colombia. So it's a single origin traceable to the farmers, which was important to me. It also makes everything a lot harder to have your drip as a single origin instead of a blend, but I seem to always make my life more difficult, so why stop now? Anyway, it's a medium roast, as according to a spectrometer, by the way, because objective data, and it has some brighter acidity, tart fruit notes, and a super clean finish. And I even do it as a pour over, which changes the flavor a bit, but it's great for whatever filter style you would want to do with it. Anyway, it's out in the world now, after almost a year since I opened this coffee shop, which is crazy. And honestly, it feels good, even if no one buys it. Just to have set out to do something with my hands, doing that, and then putting it out into the world, especially from somebody that works on the internet and has for a very long time, it's kind of cool. So feel free to come by and try it as our drip copy if you're in Greenpoint in Brooklyn. And also check out the link below to buy some if you want, or even other roasters, coffee, and gear that are our favorites in the cafe as well. As always, I really appreciate the support. And okay, enough of me advertising my own product in this video. So, the biggest deal with the Galaxy Z Fold7 is just how thin it is. At 4.2 millimeters when unfolded, it's around half the thickness of something like an iPhone 16 Pro or even Samsung's own Galaxy S25 Ultra. And when it's folded up, it actually feels like a regular phone in your pocket. It's honestly impressive. Now that makes it easier to carry, easier to hold, and it just feels more refined. And it really does make a big difference. And while you probably wouldn't guess that, considering it looks more or less the same in photos, you'll definitely feel the difference when you're actually holding the device. Now, if you want to nitpick the device, yes, the cameras stick out from the design, as people have been pointing out on the internet, but that's just because of how big the sensors are and how thin the phone now is. And other than the significantly increased wobble when you're trying to use it on a table closed, it's a good thing. On top of being thinner, the phone is also wider and taller than the Z Fold 6, which allows it to have larger screens both inside and out. The other notable design change is that the inside front camera is no longer an under the display camera, and it's now a pinhole camera. And honestly, to me, it kind of feels like the right move. Samsung has been trying to make the under-display camera work, and I appreciate the effort to get this full screen, but the tiny pinhole camera has better quality for video calling, etc. And as mentioned many times before, one of the benefits of a foldable is that you can always use the much better rear cameras to take a selfie instead of that pinhole one anyway, and that's probably the only way you really should take them. The screens themselves are great, like you'd expect from Samsung. The cover display is 6.5 inches now, and the inside screen hits 8 inches. Both are bright, responsive, and look great. I had no issues using either one outdoors, and the 120 Hz refresh rate makes everything feel smooth. Sure, they're a bit lower in resolution than other screens on other devices, but a higher resolution display could potentially impact battery life, I guess. But really, because of the size, anything is sharp enough to me anyway, so I'm not bothered by it. Okay, let's head out to check out a pretty important building here in Brooklyn and try out my very loose tie-in as usual to it and this phone. Okay, when it comes to foldable phones, there are basically two types. Flip phones that are designed to get smaller, and fold phones that are designed to fold out like a book. However, the new Z Fold7 is actually a lot smaller than an actual book. Even the most portable books here in the Central Library in Prospect Park are thicker than the Z Fold7. Now, Central Library is the main public library in Brooklyn, and it's actually perhaps even more interesting for its history than its massive collection. The library first opened in 1941 and became an instant landmark in Brooklyn, with a large, unique facade with a 50-foot Art Deco entrance and a huge grand lobby. Now, the building itself is actually designed to look more like an open book from above, but you don't have to actually fly above it to be impressed by it. Once you get inside, you'll find yourself amongst a massive 1.7 million items that you can peruse. Many of those items are incredibly rare books, actually, and even federal government documents are housed here because of its designation as a federal depository. Now, beyond the selection of books and documents, the library actually houses things like a computer lab, meeting rooms, and even a recording studio for artists. It also hosts night in the library parties, fashion events, exhibits, and there's an auditorium for live events. Altogether, it's more of a cultural center than just simply a library. Okay, it only took me a while, but I finally found a book as thin as the Z Fold7. Samsung says that the Fold has gone ultra for the Z Fold7, and one of the main ways is through the camera. It actually has gotten a pretty decent upgrade, which is great because it's one of the complaints I've had every year with each Fold launch.
I still wish it had comparable cameras to the Ultra. Somewhat disappointingly, I think for most people, is the camera hardware here is identical.
The S21 Ultra is a better bet here for battery life and cameras. The biggest change is that the Z Fold7 has the same 200 megapixel sensor as the Galaxy S25 Ultra and S25 Edge. That means that you can shoot higher resolution images, at least in good light, or as it is by default, have the camera bend the pixels together to make each pixel larger and allow for more light to enter for better low light performance. And it supports a sensor crop for 2x photos. It does this by cropping in the sensor to optically simulate a different lens, compared to a digital zoom that just takes the full sensor image and digitally tries to zoom into it, sometimes even recreating pixels. And it's pretty good, at least in better lighting conditions. Ultimately, the switch to the new sensor is noticeable. Photos from the Z Fold7 are crisp, they're detailed, and they're colorful. Most of the time, I couldn't tell the difference between shots from this and the S25 Ultra, which has one of the most versatile camera systems on a smartphone. And again, the 2x shots are great, and low light shots on the main sensor are as well. Where it doesn't quite keep up with the S25 Ultra though is zoom range. The Z Fold7 tops out at 3x optical zoom, while the S25 Ultra has an extra 5x optical zoom lens. And you can tell when you go to higher focal lengths that it can't quite keep up with the S25 Ultra. But while I definitely would have loved to have an extra 5x camera on the Z Fold7, I'm actually sure that that probably wouldn't have been possible with how thin this device is, and so to me it's a fair trade-off. And even with that, the camera system is actually probably one of the best that you can get on a foldable in the US right now. Now, one advantage of the Z Fold7, like other foldable phones, is the fact that it's its own tripod for the cameras, and you can even use your palm to trigger it from afar. The software experience is classic Samsung One UI, which you may love or you may hate. It's not my favorite UX, but it is solid. And it does have some useful ways to take more advantage of the foldable display. Now, it has the new taskbar, which is a part of Android now, so it's on other Android phones, and is great to drag and drop to multitask, which I like and I actually use a lot. But they also have their own additions, including a way to adjust the home screens based on whether you're using the inner or the outer display. And you can also force any app to move up to the top half of the display by invoking their control panel at the bottom. Now, you won't use that control panel probably, but again, it is handy if you want to say watch YouTube on the top half of the display. Okay, let's head to one more place while we're over here. I'm here at Finback, Brooklyn, at their second location of 3 they now have, and it's a tap room and a microbrewery distillery outpost in Gowanus, Brooklyn, compared to their larger original facility out in Queens. Now, even though it's smaller, it serves a ton of beers from their original brewery, but they also do experimental smaller batch beers here, and they make all of the liquor that they sell, from the distilled half-tone gins, some of which have airport codes on them for a city in the country where all of the botanicals were sourced from. So CBT for Cape Town and their South African gin, for example, crazy. But then all of the other spirits are made by them, except for the mezcal and natural wines, because I was told we're bougie. Now, in addition to that, they also roast their own coffee upstairs, and they serve food too. Dumplings mostly, and the entire menu comes straight from Chinese snack shop Dumpling Up, which itself is owned by Finback and run by one of the Finback owners' mothers. Now, the space itself is essentially the bare minimum, made mostly out of plywood, barrels, and tables, and because of that, it's extremely unpretentious and somehow, dare I say, pulling off cozy even. I just love and can relate to wanting to make all of the things in your establishment and experiment as well. And an experimentation, or at least pushing things a bit, seems to be what Samsung is finally starting to do with the Z Fold series. Now, a lot of that I imagine is because of the pressure from Chinese manufacturers like Honor, Oppo, etc., all making some impressive foldable hardware. The Fold 7, as you would expect, is running the Snapdragon 8 Elite with plenty of RAM, so it'll easily handle anything you throw at it, including gaming, multitasking, whatever. Now, one thing I did notice though, that the phone gets a little warm during some more demanding tasks for long periods of time, but it still performed just fine. And that included some relatively heavy use. So it might just be because of how thin the device is that you feel more of the internal heat maybe. Either way, not a big deal because the performance was still great and wasn't being throttled. Okay, what about battery life? Well, today it died, but that's pretty usual on a real world test day. I use the camera way more than anyone normally would. So here is another day that was not a real world test day, so you have a better idea of what normal usage could be. Now, basically, the battery life isn't bad, but it's also not amazing. And honestly, it hugely depends on how you use the phone and how much you use the inside screen versus the outside one. And all of this is just kind of part of the downside, I guess, of the phone being this thin. Again, it's not bad though. I actually expected it to be worse, but it wouldn't compete with the S25 Ultra in that department, for example. As for charging, it has 25 watt wired charging, which kind of feels slow in 2025, especially when the S25 Ultra has 45 watt charging. Regardless, the phone can get to 50% in around 30 minutes or so, and it'll take a bit over an hour to fully charge. It does have wireless charging though, and it can charge at the faster Qi 2 wireless charging speeds, which is great, but it doesn't have the magnets for Qi 2 accessories and charging stands, so you won't be able to attach it to those things without a special Qi 2 case. But this is the status quo basically for all phones with Qi 2 anything, sadly. Still not quite sure why the magnet standard in Qi 2 hasn't been used yet, but oh well. Now, all in all, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold7 is an impressive phone. And honestly, the thinner build actually does make a big difference in the way that it feels. It has a great camera and solid displays, and it's powerful enough for anything that you could throw at it right now. The only big downside is the price, really. It's $2,000. That's literally more expensive than buying two Galaxy S25 phones and gluing them together. Don't do that, it's a bad idea. But it's an extra $100 over last year's model, and of course there are a ton of trade-in deals and carrier promotions, and I'll always leave a link to the best ones that I can find in the description below. But of course, also here in the States, there's always 0% interest payment plans and leases even for the phone. And the per month difference between the Fold 7 and the Fold 6 at the time of me making this video is about $2.78 per month in some cases.
And there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought about this video and the phone in the comments below. Always appreciate hearing from you guys. And if you're not subscribed, please do so. Ding the bell to get notified when I do new videos and we explore more places. Now though, I think I'm gonna head out with these guys and we're gonna get one last beer before we call it a night. Good night.
Where's the chicken bar?
It's over there around the corner. Actually, we're gonna.
You could have just told me that, and I could have not been in your shot.
No. I was withholding the information to make sure you were in the shot.
Chicken. Give me the bird. Thank you. Now I can go.
Go away,
David,
now.
do you want me to hold your bag?
Now I want
do you
you
want me to hold your bag? You don't have to hold this.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
bud.
come on.
You're very sweet. You're very
You'll
nice.
be dead now if it wasn't for my David.
Yeah.
2, 1,
And
go.
Stop. Go away. Always appreciate hearing from you guys. And crunch, 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 and people laughing. Good times. I don't know what the crunching is. Oh, someone's playing with the cans. That's good.